Hidden within the ancient fibers of the Shroud of Turin, scientists made a discovery that left them astonished: traces of DNA. When the results were analyzed, the research team was in absolute shock. For millions of believers around the world, the shroud is considered the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, the only physical remnant associated with the resurrection, a silent witness to an event that transformed history. Some call it a fifth gospel, written not with ink or words, but with blood and suffering. For skeptics, however, the Shroud of Turin tells another story. It would be the most elaborate medieval forgery ever produced, perhaps the work of an unknown genius, or even attributed by some to Leonardo da Vinci. For more than 6 centuries, faith and skepticism have confronted one another without concession. In the 21st century, however, speculation gave way to science. Genetics, high-energy physics, spectroscopy, and forensic analyses began to treat the shroud not as a relic, but as a crime scene, a biological archive preserving 2,000 years of history. The DNA was carefully extracted, each fiber analyzed by X-rays, and the bloodstains broken down into their fundamental elements. Simple traces were expected, perhaps from a single individual or residues of medieval pigments. What emerged was far more complex. Researchers from the University of Padua and the Aeneas Center found data that not only contradicted existing theories, but destroyed them. The shroud proved to be a map, a detailed record of human suffering and of an intense pulse of energy whose nature remains beyond modern physics. The most comprehensive forensic investigation ever conducted began searching within microscopic particles, pollen, and biological signatures for the identity of the blood that soaked the fabric. In parallel, the physics of the image was studied, which behaves simultaneously as a photographic negative, a hologram, and a radiographic image. The genetic analysis led to a troubling conclusion: the artifact could not have been created in medieval Europe. The initial milestone of scientific research occurred on the 28th of May of the year 1898, when the photographer Secondo Pia captured the shroud in Turin. When he developed the negative, a sharp and detailed image of a man bearing evident signs of extreme violence appeared. Unlike any painting, the shroud is already, to the naked eye, a photographic negative. No medieval artist possessed the knowledge or technology to produce such an effect centuries before the invention of photography. Subsequent examinations with ultraviolet light, infrared, and lasers confirmed that the shroud's greatest secret was not in the image, but in the microscopic particles trapped in the fibers. In 2015, a team led by Professor Giovanni Barcaccia obtained access to analyze human and plant DNA. The objective was not to identify a specific individual, but to reconstruct the historical trajectory of the cloth. Using next-generation genetic sequencing, scientists mapped mitochondrial haplogroups that revealed a surprising diversity. The results, published in the journal Nature Scientific Reports, showed DNA from the Middle East, Western Europe, North and East Africa, South Asia, and even East Asia. This distribution is not random. It coincides with ancient trade routes, especially the Silk Road. The shroud would have traveled from Jerusalem to Edessa, then to Constantinople, Athens, and finally to France in the 14th century. In each location, believers touched, kissed, and venerated the cloth, depositing invisible layers of genetic material over the centuries. Palynology confirmed this route. Pollen from 58 plant species was identified. Most are not European, but typical of the Middle East and Anatolia. Among them stood out Gundelia tournefortii, a thorny plant that grows only between Jerusalem and Jericho and blooms in the spring, during the period of the Jewish Passover. Its pollen, found in high concentration in the region of the head of the shroud, reinforces the account of the crown of thorns. The reddish stains were also analyzed. In 2017, electron microscopy and Raman spectroscopy confirmed that it was human blood of type AB. Extreme concentrations of creatinine and ferritin were identified, compatible only with fatal trauma, prolonged torture, severe dehydration, and massive muscle destruction. It is a biochemical record of real suffering, impossible to reproduce artistically. The blood remained red due to the high levels of bilirubin released in situations of extreme stress. The radiocarbon dating carried out in 1988 indicated a medieval origin, but subsequent studies demonstrated a serious sampling error. The analyzed fragment came from an area repaired with dyed cotton during the Middle Ages, contaminated by centuries of handling. In 2022, a new technique based on wide-angle X-ray scattering analyzed the degradation of the linen cellulose while ignoring contaminants. The result placed the fabric in the 1st century, in agreement with textiles found at Masada, dated between 50 and 74 after Christ. The central question remains, how was the image formed? There are no pigments or paint. The image exists only on the surface of the fibers, with a depth of about 200 nanometers. It is a chemical alteration by oxidation and dehydration, similar to a light burn caused by an unknown energy source. To reproduce it would require an intense and extremely brief pulse of energy, something beyond any known ancient technology. Three-dimensional analyses also revealed details compatible with coins over the eyes, minted under Pontius Pilate, dust from Jerusalem, perforations in the wrists, and visible nerve reactions. Biology, chemistry, physics, geology, and history converge on a single place and period, Jerusalem, between the years 30 and 33 of the Common Era. The Shroud of Turin remains silent, but the data speak. Faith, tradition, and science now stand supported by measurable evidence. Perhaps one day science will fully explain the phenomenon that left this mark. Until then, it remains like a fifth gospel, written not in words, but in matter itself. The final question remains, will science explain a miracle, or are there doors meant not for reason but for the heart? In the silence that surrounds the Shroud of Turin, a testimony remains that crosses centuries, cultures, and scientific disciplines. It is not merely an ancient object, but a physical record that challenges simple explanations and invites profound reflection. Between measurable data and still unanswered questions, the Shroud occupies a singular space where science and faith do not cancel each other out, but engage in dialogue, reminding us that the search for truth can illuminate both reason and the most intimate meaning of human experience. Thank you for watching. While you are here, do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Click on one of the recommended videos on the screen for more incredible information. See you there.